I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about, will silence work if your ex is overwhelmed? So many of you are in a breakup situation or a dating situation where the person has kind of shut down on you, where you've realized they're not communicating the way they were, that they're telling you that they're overwhelmed, things are bothering them, and everything inside of you wants to be supportive and caring, while also struggling with that anxiety of coming on too strong. See, it gets to be a vicious cycle, which we call the anxious-avoidant trap. When one person pulls away, usually the one that's more of an avoidant attachment style, and the one that's more anxious wants to fix that repair that connection, get close to them again, and it just makes the other person want to push you away even more. A lot of times you'll find in life that people struggle with feeling overwhelmed by life, overwhelmed by responsibilities. Maybe they're struggling financially, they're struggling with mental health, they're struggling with the things that they have to do other than the romantic connection. And sometimes what happens is the only thing that they can cut ties with is the romantic connection. Even though you want to be there, you want to be supportive, for them, they feel guilty, they feel overwhelmed by the responsibilities and obligations that they know come with a relationship, and they're feeling like it's not fair to you. They feel like, oh, well, I'm not being fair to this person because they deserve all these things. They're so good to me. And it's tough because you're like, okay, but I can be patient, I can be understanding. And they're like, no, I can't. I just can't do this right now. I can't worry about it right now. I see a lot of breakups like this. And so many times you're in a situation like that. You're like, well, if I go no contact, are they just going to think I don't care about them? Are they just going to forget about me? Or will no contact work? Will not reaching out to them allow them the space and the time to miss me for those feelings of being overwhelmed to go away? Well, it depends upon a lot of things. Of course, their mental health is a huge component of it, right? If they're struggling with depression, that's going to be a major factor that kind of saps their energy, right? If they're struggling with a workload and they can't do anything about it, then that can get to them too. Now, sometimes it's just a temporary thing, right? Sometimes maybe it's just a move or a health issue from a family member that is, getting resolved or improving. Sometimes there are situations that are going to improve and get better, or they can learn to manage it better and wind up being a better partner. But we're going to talk about this today, and I've got a good email coaching that talks about somebody getting overwhelmed, and in this case, their ex gets really scared about things and they kind of shut down. So this is a couple that were in their mid-40s, and they were dating for only about 3 months. Now, he has one child from a previous marriage, but she has 7 kids. Now, some of them are foster kids. He didn't get into specifics, but not all are biological. And he did mention that it's interesting that the kids are really helpful with each other, and quite a few of them are older, so they help with the younger ones. So that can make her life a little bit easier. But overall, you're still going to have 7 kids to wonder about, worry about, think about, take care of in some shape or form. So that would be very overwhelming for somebody. And she was previously married to a narcissist. So that's tough. Her experiences with romantic relationships are probably not very good. It makes me wonder what her childhood was like, that she might be drawn to a narcissist, because when we grow up in healthier environments, we tend to see somebody's mental health easier. The better off we were in our childhood, the more likely we're going to be secure and know what secure, healthy behavior looks like. So when we see the love bombing and the coming on strong, those secure people tend to back off and say, hang on, this doesn't feel right to me. Something's off. They're coming on strong, but I don't really know this person yet. Now, this isn't for all cases, but it happens often. They both work in the fitness industry, and he says the relationship was going amazing. Now, they had gone to school together and dated briefly when they were in their early 20s, and he said, I've always loved her deep down. So that's playing a huge part into this situation. If he's loved her for 20-something years deep down, then he's put a lot of value on her and how much he cares about her and the importance of her in his life. But remember, she has got 7 kids to take care of. That's overwhelming. Just 2 kids is a lot to take care of, let alone 7. Now, I know she's got help from the older foster kids or the older kids, however it may be, but still, it's a lot. You'd be constantly thinking about where is they, who are they with, what are they doing, how are they doing, are they at school, how is work going for them, how is their health, not to mention yourself. So it's a lot. She messaged me through Facebook asking to catch up, and we hit it off like we hadn't been apart. It's been amazing, deep connection and affection, and she did say she loved me very early. Okay, got to be careful. Right? I know they dated briefly 20-something years ago, but you got to be careful. Then I suppose the issues I noticed, she was very emotional and scared how fast it was going. Okay, so this is why I tell you guys, you got to do the work. You have to get centered, because when you start to date new people or your ex comes back, it doesn't matter. You got to take it slow, and you're not going to want to. In fact, your ex could overwhelm you. And even when they do, and it feels so good to reconnect, you still want to take it slow, because if you don't protect yourself and take it slow, they're going to get off the rails. They're going to lose emotional self-control. They're going to scare themselves, and it's going to lead to another breakup. Right? So do the work. That's why I have the creative healing course. That's why I have the workbooks. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your partners, and you learn how to navigate those challenging situations, right? It's easy a lot of the time, but it's the moments where it's difficult where most of us mess things up. And like the course and the workbooks, that's trying to help prepare you for the challenging times. And also keep the good times going easier, right? Because you don't make a lot of mistakes that cause the fights and the little things to get on each other's nerves. She was constantly telling me how grateful she is to have me in her life. We had planned many things, and I think that's why she got scared. Yes, that can scare someone. It can overwhelm somebody, so you have to be careful about those things. You don't want to overwhelm people, okay? I suggest 1 or 2 dates a week, no more than that. Otherwise, someone gets scared easily. Not usually in the beginning, but get to around that 4-month mark, and that's when it starts to really hit them. She did talk very openly about being scared and how fast it was going. I even suggested slowing it down so it was easier for her. Well, a lot of times you make that suggestion and they're like, no, I love spending time with you. I love talking to you all the time. So more so than saying it, just kind of slow it down a little bit. Because when you bring it up to them like, no, I don't want to slow it down. I love this. Most of the time. Sometimes they will say slow it down, but a lot of times they don't. The idea of it, they don't like it. But in reality, if you can do it, it tends to help navigate things easier. I think she's a fearful avoidant, but she was very vulnerable and let me in. We had very deep discussions, and that is one of the reasons she said she fell for me. For my birthday in the end of October, we went out and had an amazing evening. We hooked up, but she was worried about getting pregnant. Well, she should be, okay? She's got 7 kids she's already responsible for, and she's in her late 40s. Obviously, you want to consider that when you're having a child at that age. You want to be careful, and you've only been dating a few months. It's a lot and somebody is probably going to be thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? The next morning, she took the morning after pill. By that afternoon, I think she was working herself up and messaged me in the evening saying she is overwhelmed and she can't keep up with her responsibilities in life. Well, I think it's true. She does have 7 kids she's taking care of. But I think it scared her. It was a real reality check. The excitement and the fantasy of it all became a real reality when she thought, oh my gosh, what if I'm pregnant with another child? Now, I know they're not all biologically hers, but when you're taking care of 7 kids, it doesn't really matter, right? Because that just means an 8th. That means a baby, a toddler, an infant, when you have all these other ones to take care of. Feed, clothe, worry about. And she needs time to sit with these fears, so she asked for space. Okay, so this is tough. This is why we say do the work, because whoever you date, no matter how long you date, there's probably going to be some point where something like this happens. And in that moment, you really got to stay calm, because if you overwhelm them, it just makes it worse. Initially, I panicked, but didn't beg. Just said I felt blindsided, and this was hurtful, but I understood. I also kind of figured she was fearful avoidant. I had previously dated a fearful avoidant, so I could tell the signs. I was polite, understanding, and gave her space. I reached out a few weeks ago to see if we were still going to an event over the weekend. I said, no pressure. If you don't feel like it, it's okay. She made an excuse that the whole family was ill. Could be true, right? A bunch of kids there. They could be ill. You see a lot of stuff go around when kids are in school, right? A lot of germs at schools. Kids get sick and they get each other sick easily. But accepted it, no problem. On the day of the event, she messaged me to say how bad she was feeling and that she was in the hospital for a serious illness. I'm not going to say what illness this is to keep this a little bit more vague, but it's serious enough, okay? It's not something life-threatening that I know of. I don't know a lot about this, but I can tell you it's serious enough where she's probably pretty sick. I showed compassion and said, why did you not reach out? Her reply, I didn't feel I had the right to. Now, see, there's that guilt, right? She feels bad for the way she's handled this. I said, if you wouldn't have reached out, we would be at a stalemate as I'm stubborn. She laughed. She asked how I was again. I said, okay, but this feels like rejection. She told me it wasn't rejection, that it was totally her. And I think she means that. I think that's true. We don't have any evidence that he did anything to upset her or anything wrong in this situation. Other than maybe went a little too fast. The conversation ended. I messaged her the next day, hungover, and asked how she was feeling. She said she was okay, then texted, can I see you soon? That may have been a little too much. She's probably still in the hospital, and she's probably not feeling too good. So there's that anxiety, right? There's that anxiety of, I want to know the answer. I want to have this uncertainty gone away. She kept it unread. Oof. So I deleted my message. I've been in no contact ever since, not looking at her social media. I felt bad as I didn't even wish her daughter a happy birthday. Yeah, that's tough. I've been there. It's an awful feeling. You really want to reach out and let that kid, you care about him, but you can't. You can't do it, She left you on red. She didn't reply to you. I'm sure she would be polite if you reached out about the birthday, but it's not going to help the situation. She's got to reach out when she's ready. My question is, will she come back? We have a deep connection and attachment. It feels like she is living her life, putting things on Facebook as if no worries. I feel like we could have had an amazing relationship. Well, I think there were a lot of good things, and I think she feels a strong connection to you, but little things make a big difference when you're trying to attract somebody and form a deep connection with them. And unfortunately, the unprotected sex and her, I'm assuming it was unprotected. If it wasn't, I'm sorry about that, but the fact that she took the morning after pill, the bottom line is she was scared of getting pregnant to somebody she's only been dating for like 3 months or something like that. I know you've known each other a long time, but there was many, many years apart. And I know you really value this woman. There's no reason that she couldn't reach out. You didn't do much wrong here, but the things that you did do, and that was on her as well. I'm not putting all this on you. She made those choices as well, did scare her, and did change the dynamic. So I would leave her alone, let her reach out when she's ready, and make sure you take things slow. Don't let her open up to you too much too soon. Don't have too many of those deep conversations because I think it's scaring her. Have a little at a time, but let it slowly go at a pace where she's wanting more, not wanting less. If you guys start to reconnect and see each other again, make sure you take it slow. Having some space and time in between talking and seeing each other is a good thing. I do think the silence is what you need to do here. I don't think any kind of reaching out is going to help. You could see you tried that and she left you on red, probably still feeling overwhelmed and guilty about hurting you. Remember, she said earlier she didn't feel like she had the right to. So I do think that there's some guilt there. But I do think space and silence can allow her to remember how good you treated her and all the good times that you had. It's just that you gotta have some silence with seeing her and talking to her. When you're anxious, it's tough to allow silence. But I see it as the space in between the music. If you just push your hand down on the piano, all you have is noise. But it's when you lift your fingers off the keys and play different notes, that's what creates the beautiful music. So having silence in a relationship can be healthy. But when you're anxious and you haven't worked on your anxious attachment style, it's going to be a major struggle. I highly recommend you check out my creative healing course and my knowledge workbooks. They can help you learn to navigate relationships a lot easier with emotional self-control and have the skills to navigate all these difficult moments. If you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.